Hello and welcome to another edition of Newspaper Headlines Review on Agit Television. Of course, it's a combined broadcast of Agit Television and Agit Radio 95.5 Star FM Makudi. My name is Fanen Kwano, your regular host. And on this edition of the program, I'm being joined by the state correspondent, People's Daily Newspaper, talking about Uche Noron. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me here. Compliments of the season to you.
Thank you. Also with us is our regular analyst, TV Akasi. He's a seasoned journalist. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here again. Thank you.
All right, don't forget you can follow us on our social media handles. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and then you can also listen to us via Agit Radio 95.5 Star FM in the frequency modulation band. And then today we have a whole lot of stories on our table to handle. So just stay tuned, keep watching and keep listening if you are listening to the radio and if you are watching us via television. All right, so we're going to start this morning with our own newspaper, talking about Agit newspaper. And then it comes with this banner headline: Benue Assembly invites Aliyah. And then the kicker is frozen account. Frozen account, Benue Assembly invites Aliyah. And then we can see Pro Pane Autumn wins another round. Okay, and then just above the nameplate, Benue holds valedictory session in honor of late Paul Unongo. And then we have people of Katsina cry over attacks, destruction of produce. Okay, Unongo was a true patriot, still coming from the immediate past governor of Benue State, Chief Samuel Otom. And then we have arrested 32 suspected cultist gun runners in Benue. That's coming from the CP, Commissioner of Police. Mother of Enugu community leader, prime suspect arrested in Benue. All right. So, and just beside, or below that story is a Port Harcourt refinery. Nigerians should expect fuel price drop. This is coming from oil marketers. Just below, just in the foot of the paper, you see gunmen kill, amputate Benue lawyer's hand. So these are some of the issues we have, all the stories we have in Agit news this morning. All right, so of course we're going to start with the banner headline there. Benue Assembly invites Aliyah over frozen accounts. And then this is 1 year, 6 months that the governor has been in office, and this issue is still in deliberation. So what does it indicate to us? So right now I'm going to hand over to the microphone to Akase to speak on this. What is the implication of this? 1 year, 6 months, 1.5 years?
Well, I am not in government at the moment, so I don't have an idea of what is the issue with the accounts of Benue State being frozen by the government, by the governor's directive. I recall that His Excellency Governor Hyacinth Alia made that pronouncement on the very day he was sworn in, and that using his exact words, post no bail. And that became the order of the day, which means no bank should allow withdrawals from the accounts of the state government, except as and when permitted by his authority. The immediate past government had given people checks to and those individuals were waiting with those checks in hand to latch onto the accounts and cash out. So, but incidentally, we came out and countered that in recent times, government, since e-governance came, since e-banking was inaugurated, governments no longer issue checks. Government gives mandates. If you are a contractor and you have finished your work and your certificates are ready, government will issue, the Ministry of Finance through the Accountant General by the governor's directive approval, we issued a mandate to the bank to pay you, and this will be done by e-payment, electronic payment, not in cash. So nobody goes to the bank now to cash out in terms of government transactions. That was how it was at that time. So, you know, flip to 1 year, 7 months or so now, and the accounts are still frozen. That's why we can see the Assembly, the Benue State House of Assembly, inviting the Governor, His Excellency Hyacinth Elia, to perhaps to give explanation as to why almost 2 years Benue is still accounts. And when those accounts are closed, for instance, if a ministry is to send some of its staff to attend a seminar which will benefit the government and the people of the state somewhere, such a ministry has to raise the staff who are involved in the trip will raise what is called a duty tour allowance, okay, and they will be paid from the ministry. This doesn't have to necessarily go to the governor's table for approval. But when everything has been closed, it means that the ministries cannot operate, even to buy something as simple as a ream of duplicating paper. You will have to recourse to the governor, and this becomes cumbersome. It becomes too much for governance, and I think this is what is happening in the state, and that's why the Assembly is asking. But is asking His Excellency to go and explain why up to this time the accounts of the state have been frozen.
Okay, presenting the motion on the floor of the House, the Deputy Minority Leader, Blessed Honor, had recalled that the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor had earlier issued a statement directing the immediate on freeze, or what grammar should I use there? That the account be unfrozen.
To unfreeze, yes.
All right. So, and then that has not been done, and that's one of the worries of the State House of Assembly. You know, that the governor gave the directive. As a journalist, Uche, do you see? Do you think someone somewhere is trying to, interfere, trying to stop the governor's directive, because he actually sent the directive? We saw it. It was in public record. We saw it, but yet it has not been, the accounts have not been unfrozen.
Well, to me, it's still baffling that this issue is still in the public domain, that the accounts of the state government for close to 2 years is being frozen. This shouldn't be the issue that should be discussed now. We're discussing more important things. But where the Assembly has expressed their worries, this is not the first time, but I think this is the first time that they are taking it serious, that the accounts of the government. I remember several times, on several occasions, the governor has been asked by journalists why the account remain frozen. And he even assured, he gave his words that the accounts will be frozen. But for me, I don't think I saw anywhere. I don't know. I have not seen anywhere where from that statement by the governor, then that directive was not carried out. If it's not carried out, why should the Assembly now still bring the issue up? Why should the Assembly bring the issue up if that directive was given? I mean, who can flood the governor's directive? The governor is the head at the moment, the head of the state. Whatever directive he gives should be carried out to the latter. So I don't think, for me, I didn't see any secular issue anywhere that the accounts of the state should be unfrozen, and that was not carried out. Maybe somehow somebody is trying to cover up. So I don't know. As the press secretary, as a spokesperson of the governor, we want to make sure that certain things are not, certain things are covered, and then maybe they want to push the blame now to maybe the Assembly or some other persons who are in charge of the accounts of the state, who perhaps should have carried out their responsibility and maybe have not done it. For me, that is how I see it.
Okay, moving on to the next issue. Pro panel or Tom wins another round. I was speaking with somebody on the street yesterday, and he said he is an insider, so he knows what he's saying. All right, so Chief Akasi, you are an insider, that you should be able to tell us more about this. So what does it mean?
Well, the issue is in court, so whatever we say here will be what is called sub judice. So, you know, so I will not speak so much elaborately. I mean, I won't speak elaborately on that issue. When the present government instituted the probe panels, His Excellency, the immediate past governor of the state, Samuel Otom, came out and said he was willing, and of course he's still willing to cooperate with the probe panels on the condition that the panel will be fair, will be just, and follow due process and the rule of law. So when the panels were constituted, he found something fishy. He found that injustice was about to be done to him from the constitution of the panel and the mode of its operation and all of that. So he approached the court to interpret what he saw to be wrong. So he is not against the panel. He's a law-abiding citizen of this country. He has led and said he is willing to cooperate. He's willing to answer all the questions. Even if you're a governor for one day, just one day, if anybody wants to probe you, he can probe you. But as they say, someone is not guilty until he is proven otherwise. So the fact that someone is asked to come face a probe doesn't mean he's guilty. It is up to that probe. It said the person who accuses, the onus, the burden of proof lies on the person who accuses, not the person who is to defend. You are the one who is accusing this person of wrongdoing. So the burden of proof according to law is on you, the accuser, to prove. So His Excellency Otom is available for the probe. He has said it repeatedly that he's available. So, but the only thing he's asking is that the right thing should be done. Remember that before he rounded off his 8 years in office, his accounts were audited, comprehensively audited by the Auditor General of the state and sent to the State Assembly, and the State Assembly approved, passed the audited accounts of the state. That is what the law says. So it's as simple as that. But as I said earlier, I don't want to go into details of that because I am not a judge, I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers and the judges are there to determine whether or not the probe panels were constituted the right way and due process is being followed.
Okay, Benue holds valedictory session in honor of late Paul Onongo, and Onongo was a true patriot or term. You know, each time the name of the late elder statesman is mentioned, you know, it's a popular saying, one of which he had dear to. So the question he asked, where do we go from here? And then several years after, Nigerians are still asking this question, where do we go from here? Uche, so of your practice in the state, you must have come in contact with the late elder statesman in one or two ways. You may have read about him, written about him or so. So what was your opinion, what was your experience of him generally?
That's what I would say about the late Wantarin Paul Onongo. I would say he was a great man, a great Benue son, erudite, forthright, truthful. He meant well for not just Benue, Middle Belt, and the northern region too. He was a man who was selfless. I know that growing up as a little boy in this state here, Onongo's name was ringing. But that's in the 80s. It was already a figure that is revered by everyone, even beyond the shores of the country. And in fact, he's deserving of everything. He's a true patriot in every sense of it. It's unfortunate that he never had the opportunity to govern the state. I think he would have made a good governor of the state. He tried his hand. He tried several times to become governor of the state, but in other assignments, other responsibilities that he had, he did well. And Benue can beat this challenge. Yes, he was truly a leader in a sense of it. And I had encounters with him, and then you need to sit with him, and then the man was intelligent. He had the history of Nigeria and the history of Northern region, the Middle Belt, the palm of his hand. Wake him up at any time. If you enjoy talking with him, he was a delight, a regionalist, and he was human. But when he talks, but it's like the state rouse, Nigeria rouse, Middle Belt, the quake. So in fact, it was a delight. It's a great man, I would say.
Okay, Chief Akasi, you are, when I talk to you first as a journalist, secondly
yes.
as a politician.
I'm a journalist, and I'll always be a journalist.
So, are there any legacies that the late former minister, left that you would want to point to?
Yes, a lot has already been said about the icon of leadership, and one of the very last nationalists to grace this nation. The late Wantare Paul Unongo, you really can't find the right words to describe him. And he inspired so many people. And you've read what Chivotom said there, that Unongo inspired him. He's a creation of Unongo's legacy. It's one of the legacies that Paul Unongo has left. And so many others, so many people in this state whom Unongo has mentored to rise, to occupy positions of trust, positions of authority. So you can't have it any better. If you have someone who is able to raise generations of leaders, it really doesn't matter if he occupied any leadership position, because he is a leader already. He has impacted positively on the life of this state and country. That's why Mr. President Tinubu was gracious enough to send a high-powered delegation led by the vice president. On the day of the burial, the secretary to the government of the federation, Chief Senator George Akume, was there, himself, to lead a delegation, another delegation, to witness the interment of the icon. So that's Paul Unongo lived well, and it's a celebration that we are lucky in Benue State to have someone like him. And some of us who grew up to know him, so we count ourselves as very, very fortunate to have been born to witness the life and times of this man, and to be able to see him, hear him speak at events and draw inspiration.
Okay, that is it for that. And other issues, the rest of the issues on our Gate news this morning are insecurity. Okay, this one says we have arrested 32 suspected cultist gun runners in Benue. That's coming from the Commissioner of Police, CP Steve Yabanet. All right, murder of a Nugu community leader, prime suspect arrested in Benue. Okay, and then also we have gunmen kill, amputate Benue lawyer's hand. So these issues of insecurity recurring in Benue, it's not a good one to me at all. And then to every other woman in Benue, indigene, I think it's not, or resident, I think it's not a good one to hear at all. All right, we've talked over and over about this, so we head to the next newspaper, which is The Punch. The Punch newspaper comes next. All right, and in the Punch newspaper this morning, PDP others urge talks as presidency defense bills with rider Senators Okpeyemi, Dixon, Kalu, Reps back bills. Opposition parties warn federal government against using force. All right, that's the banner headline there, and just above the nameplate, federal government auditors probe NNPCL's 2.7 trillion naira subsidy refund claim. Okay, 2027 APC dismisses threat by alleged splinter group. Low-income earners can withdraw total retirement savings, and this is coming from a PenCam. Okay, and then there is an independent story, very wide story here. The EFCC seizes 753 duplex estate, hides ex-government top shot's identity. All right, federal government protests Nigerian Army's probe by ICC. TS as customs officer, why 4 kids die in Osun fire. And then Ajayi to appeal ruling upholding Ayedetiwa deputy's candidacy. So these are some of the issues we have in the Punch newspaper this morning. So we're going to begin with this one, with the Kika tax reform. PDP, others urge talks as presidency defense bills. All right, we're still talking about this again. Tax reform bills.
Yes. Now, Fane, when something comes up on the national scene like this, you would expect Nigerians to set aside emotions and look deeply into that issue before we begin to fan embers of discord, embers of disaffection. The presidency, Mr. President Tinubu, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for me, has made a bold move. You know, I have been criticizing his administration in some ways recently, but on the issue of the tax reforms, I don't find really any problem. The only thing I would have suggested is that more consultations should have been held, should have been done. Now, I remember that when Olusegun Obasanjo was the president, before he would initiate anything, he would hold town hall meetings. Now, Mr. President would have perhaps ask his ministers or even call town hall meetings by himself. Be there yourself, select people from all parts of this country, people of knowledge, to come and look critically at this issue and suggest what the feelings of Nigerians are towards such a thing. Now, the northern part of this country, especially the governors of the north, are agitating against the tax reform. The bills, by the way, there are 4. The Joint Revenue Board of Nigeria, Nigeria Revenue Service, which is now called Federal Inland Revenue Service, will be reformed to become a Nigeria Revenue Service. The next one is Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, and lastly, Nigeria Tax Bill. And if you look at the bill, it has a lot of takeaways, a lot of good things in it. The issue that the governors of the north are complaining is that a lot of mileage, a lot of advantage is given to Lagos, to southern states, especially Lagos and Rivers, who we have, because those are the states that have the concentration, the highest concentration of companies, of industries in this country. And what the bill is saying is that those who have that, the rest, where the headquarters of a company is located, that state will benefit more in terms of revenue. That's the agitation. But if you look at that bill, the one part of it is that the bill is saying anyone who is earning about below 66,000 naira will no longer pay tax in this country. That is an aggregate of 800,000 per annum. If you are earning, from 66,000 and below, then you are paying no taxes. But again, you will find criticism there because the minimum wage now is 70,000. So, but those are the areas that consultations would have been held. Okay, look at the bill is giving states more money. 55% of revenue sharing of value-added tax will now be shared. 55% will go to states, and federal government just about 15%, and 35% to local government. I think this is huge. If you have 55% of the country's revenue for that month coming to states and 35 of it going to the local governments, this should ordinarily spring up development at the grassroots, because local governments will be getting more money, state governments will be getting more money. They're already getting more money since subsidy was removed. Huge amounts are coming to states and local governments. And the president is saying, with the reforms in the tax, in the revenue sector, the tax administration, more of these monies will come to the states and local governments. So for me, I don't see anything really bad or dangerous about the bill. But I will suggest that Mr. President should listen to some voices of reason. They shouldn't be aggressive. The bill may eventually, already the Senate has passed its second reading, it has passed through second reading. So the bill will be eventually passed, but let Nigerians understand that this bill, though the tax reforms mean well for everyone, and that the emotions rising about Lagos and Rivers and the other southern states benefiting more may eventually not be there. Because if you look at the issue of revenue sharing that I just talked about here, 55% coming to every state. So this is big. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, still talking about this, people that have raised eyebrows against these bills presented to the National Assembly, some on the one hand, like Chief, I remember distinguished Senator Alin Dume, one of his concerns about this is that why is this so quickly? Why are they taking it so quickly? Okay, on the other hand, some of the opposition that it's an opportunity for state governors to also double up their work, create an investing environment to have more companies. Uche, what's your submission on the whole matter?
Yes, what I would say concerning these issues, like Chifakasi has said, there should have been wide consultation about the bill. For me, I would say it is hasty, though with good purpose and good intent, but there should have been wider consultation about it. It's just like when the president on his inauguration speech announced that subsidy was gone. And it took everybody by surprise. And this one too is almost happening in the same stride, the same way. At the time when things are not so, the economy of the country, we are battling with inflation rates and all this stuff, and then the tax regime, a new tax regime is coming, new tax reform is coming. I think there should have been, you shouldn't come in this hasty manner, even though it has good intentions, but a wider consultation. And the National Assembly too, it's not everything that the president brings at the foot of the House that they should also accept hook, line and sinker. Carry out consultation, meet with the people you represent, talk to them, hold town hall meetings with them, see the prospects, see the advantage and disadvantages of this. Okay, that is why this is causing some sort of rift. That's why there's this hue and cry about it, because that's why there's division. There are divergent, discordant tunes about it, because there has not been that consultation. People have not been carried along in this reform. The National Assembly is also in a good position to also advise the presidency. The presidency has the economic team. What are they doing? They should advise him. Let's hold this down. This is too early in the day in your administration. Perhaps maybe next year we'll do it. While we'll consult, then we'll bring it up and see how Nigerians will accept it. That is my take on this.
Okay, basically one key takeaway there is the timing. So quick, more consultations should be done. Well, at this note, we take a short break, and then when we come back, we talk more on stories in the Punch newspaper. It's the newspaper headlines review on Agate Television. Welcome back. You're still watching Our Gate Television and listening to Our Gate Radio 95.5 Star FM. Oh, newspaper headlines review is the Progress newspaper. Right, EFCC seizes 753 duplex estate, hides as government top shots identity. All right, and this very, very touching story. Okay, I must have to first of all commend the work of the EFCC boss, Barrister Olukoyede. You know, when he came up, there were issues. People said he was not the secretary to the commission. He would not deliver. This is one of, if you read the story down, you discover that this is one of the most striking recovery that the EFCC has done since establishment in 2003. All right, so kudos to Barrister Olukoyede. All right, but two issues for me basically here. Number one, okay, who is this person? Who is this top government functionary? Why should him? Why should he? And then number two, afterwards, what would this be done with? Because we have had many recoveries as far as EFCC is concerned. You know, at some point we read that they handed over some sum of money to the federal government and whole lot of that, but we only read. Okay, so first of all, why are they shielding this person?
Well, I think I read the statement by the Anti-Graft Commission yesterday, and I think the investigation is still on.
Okay.
Perhaps they want to get more. It is possible that individual has much more to give back to the government, and the commission feels that revealing his identity at this time will muzzle, will inhibit that investigation. So these things are allowed in policing and general investigations when you are on a trail of something. Yes, you may give you know, snippets of information so that people know something is happening. But when you quickly reveal the identity of those who are involved, then your informants too will become at risk, because the person who did this couldn't have done it by himself. There must be people whom he used to execute. That is, we were looking at an expansive land there, 150,000 square kilometers.
150,000.
Yes. And you are looking at those duplexes lying there. Look at the picture. So large. And by one person. So I commend the EFCC for not quickly revealing the identity of that person. Well, now, we certainly will get to know. But what bothers me most is how come these things are done under the nose of security agencies, including the EFCC, right there in Abuja. Police headquarters is in Abuja. EFCC headquarters is in Abuja.
Defense headquarters.
The defense headquarters is in Abuja. Talk about all of them. All of them. Civil defense, immigration, everybody. They're all there. And this thing was happening. Approvals were given by the FCDA, which controls lands in Abuja. And this individual kept building, expanding, and nobody raised an alarm. And if this is a they say top government official, right? Former top government official. Beautiful. So maybe as the man was in government, nobody dared to raise a finger. And that is one of the problems of this country. So while we commend the efforts made by the EFCC, we must not fail to advise and encourage that we shouldn't wait until it is too late. These kind of things can be nipped right in the bud. You know, and it is possible. Nothing is hidden under the sun. Because people were going there every day. Workers, hundreds of workers must be going there every day to build those duplexes. So that's how we should be proactive, because Nigeria is ours to protect. The national cake is for every Nigerian and not a selected, crop of Nigerians.
Commonwealth. Okay, some will argue that there is an impunity clause. that shield some top government functionaries, because we are only trying to guess. We don't know who this person is, but the security might say he had some form of impunity.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That if people are suspected to be doing something which is wrong, then you give, if you give a hint, give a clue, give a hint, what is called a tip-off in police circles. If you give a tip-off, the police, if they go and they compromise, that is their own cup of tea. But you have played your role, partisan, religious, and ethnic sentiments when looking at the Commonwealth of Nigeria. When Nigeria is greater, and I believe Nigeria will be greater. It is great already, but I believe Nigeria will be greater. When this country is greater, economically especially. And one of the things I forgot to mention in that tax bill, which excites me the most, is that there will be no VAT, no value-added tax on exports. That means if you find now you are producing something and you want to take that in abroad, whether it is your intellectual property, maybe you have initiated something that companies abroad can buy your intellectual property and make money, and you make money. Nigeria is not going to charge you tax on that product. So which is beautiful, you can see. That means only to be charged only on imports. So this country has potential. And the only way we can do is we have to be truly patriotic. If we see something that is going on wrong, for instance, this thing that we are seeing in Abuja of 150,000 square hectares of land, people should have raised alarm that something is going on wrong here, and this would have been nipped in the bud.
Okay, Uche, he emphasized whistleblowing. All right, so, but looking at this seizure, what does he tell of the current war against corruption in the country?
Okay, first and foremost, we'll say that our intelligence gathering needs to be really stepped up. Imagine how long that estate has been, and up to and nobody knew anything about it until now that it has been raised. And that huge number of estates on that sitting on that 150 square meters. It's massive, really massive. I appreciate the EFCC. I commend for the work they have done so far under the new management. They have really stepped up their work. Unlike the EFCC that we used to know, we run after people who maybe who steal, who are those petty thieves. Then now we see EFCC engaging more on carrying out very huge recoveries. But then we ask, when these things are done, when these recoveries are done, what becomes of them? Where did this money go to? In past years, EFCC have made so many recoveries like this, but we don't see, we don't hear, they don't disclose to us how much. I remember one time they had a workshop here, asked that same question, what happened to the recoveries? So many recoveries through plea bargain, so many others. What are these? Where do they plow this money to? What are they used for? Nobody tells us anything about this. But the same, we commend them, and they should not rest on their house, ensuring that corruption, no matter who works God, no matter who is involved. Even sorry to say it, that most of these sitting governors, they use that because they have immunity, they amass wealth. If I have the power, I would say let's change the constitution. The sitting governor is done in other parts of the other crimes. Even if you're a president involved in fraud, you are kicked out. When it's established that you're fraudulent, a sitting president, a sitting governor can be kicked out for being fraudulent. I think our constitution needs to be rejiggered in such a way that even if you're sitting, that immunity clause should be removed from governors or whoever is in power. So because they use that, they leverage on that and commit more crime, steal, amass wealth, because they have immunity. You can't prove them until maybe they have left office.
Okay, the last time we were here, a group of people were impose capital punishment on corruption cases. All right, that takes us to the Guardian newspaper this morning, and then it comes with this headline: Electricity Act, states face subsidy burden as Lagos leads with a $10 billion due legislation. Okay, there's a picture there showing all of that. You know, current yearly national subsidy 2.4 trillion naira, and a whole lot of that. Okay, Nigeria raises $2.2 billion from latest Eurobond auction. 90% of Nigerians support tax reform bills, says Oyedele. Okay, and I hope this includes also the gentlemen here in the house. They all support the 90%. Okay, the tax reform bills. Just that he said there should be wider consultations. MBF fought amnesty for repentant terrorists. And local council polls make mockery of democracy. And this is coming from Abbas. Human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi alleges threat to life. Nigeria records 42,700 AIDS-related deaths yearly, says NEPWAN. All right, so NLC vows to pursue new wage implementation before January. So, and this is one story we're going to talk on before we move to another newspaper briefly, because Uche, just a few months ago, last month, if I remember, the NLC had issued a directive to, state chapters that by December 1, total shutdown. If any governor fails to implement a new minimum wage, total shutdown. And then now we see the NLC saying, vowing to pursue new minimum wage implementation before January. And I like to relate it to this story. Minimum wage strike Nwifiri fumes as 3 states FCT grounded. That's about Governor Nwifiri, of Ebonyi State. So workers were on strike, and then he became angry. And in the statewide broadcast, he had said that workers who did not resume work in 72 hours were going to be replaced. All right. So here, Labour is also pushing it forward. Talk about this.
Yeah, why it is jubilation in some other states over the new minimum wage, and payments had commenced immediately. I saw videos in River State. In fact, on Sunday, teachers in the River State went to they had a Thanksgiving service for Fubara. They were jubilant. I just saw another video on this. I saw it was trending too. And it was in secondary school where they were singing and praising the governor. The governor became, instead of singing the national anthem, it was the governor that they were using as the anthem. They sang that song. And I guess they must have rehearsed it very well, and they were singing the praise of the governor for paying 85,000. Now we have said this here before that the minimum wage have been assented to long time. The governors have no excuse. Now, Benny State just paid in November and some areas. Kudos to the governor for that. We had said it here several times, and Chief Akli, we have so much money to pay. Why? The governor, Benny State governor, I commend the workers there. The Nigerians, they believe in when you protest, when you go on strike, that's when they listen to you. I mean, why is he not paying when other governors are already paying? But it's a very small state. Among the smallest states, small workforce. Being at the big workforce, and Lagos and other places, they are paying. So why should they not pay? So I guess that what the workers have done there, I think, is a wake-up call to him. Start the implementation. The money is there. Why is he not paying? Why is he angry that the workers have gone on strike? Demanding for their own rights.
Okay, Chief Akasi had earlier said on this program that any governor that was still doubting whether to pay minimum wage or not was acting against the law, because the minimum wage is a law.
But this issue of minimum wage is similar to what I would describe someone who entered the civil service with a school cert, then went past level 13, maybe is around 14, and has gone to do a degree. What that degree can only do for him is to make him, it's only adds to his CV because it may not impact on his salary. He's already gone past the level where you will So when the minimum wage was, but first of all, I commend the governor of Benue State to joining the trail of those governors who have agreed to pay. But recently, some civil servants received their alerts, and they didn't see much difference from what they have been receiving. Some just 10, 15,000 increase, and so on. So that's why I'm likening it to someone who entered the civil service with school cert, later went and got a degree or an HND. He comes back to the civil service. Only what that degree or HND has added to him is his CV, because he's already receiving salary that is equivalent, because he has stayed for some years. So the minimum wage is only good for junior staff, those who are called manipulative staff, the clerks. I mean, not really clerks, those ones that cleaners, messengers in the ministries, and drivers, and all those ones. Those are the ones that will feel the impact of the minimum wage, because the big guys there, big guys and big girls who are on level 8 and above, will not feel that impact much. Just what has been added is just small checkery, just to, because, but when you hear the government making so much noise about minimum wage, you would think that when it is added, then everybody's salary will increase by that percentage that is pronounced. No, it's not like that. Just a small amount that is added. Those who are really happy are those who are the downline.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Akase, for providing that perspective. I remember someone had asked me to help. He said, "Help me check." My landlord had asked me to help me check because he was expecting a huge increase.
Yes, that's why some of us were really disappointed in governors who were, dragging their feet before they will accept to pay. You have so much money since subsidy was removed. That's why no governor is owing salaries now since Tinubu came on board. Because Mr. President has rolled out the drums for governors of this country. Each of them is receiving more than 3 times what the previous ones were receiving. So you have no reason not to pay salaries. You have no reason not to pay pensions. You have no reason at all not to implement the new minimum wage. Mr. President knows. That is why he insisted that the minimum wage should be increased. Because they have a lot. They can do many contracts, many projects as they want. So much is in the coffers of the state.
In fact, what we have seen the governors do, it's not commensurate to what they get from FRAC.
Yes.
For me, it's not commensurate. There should be more development now than before. Because remember when the last time, in 2015, when there was a economic meltdown,
Nigeria went into recession 2 times under Buhari.
Well, now we're out of recession. Look at our GDP. Has increased by almost from 3.15 that used to be to 3.40.
And that is why, Uche, I agree with you. That is why we have to comment. The pains in the economy are high now. And to tell Nigerians that they should not cry is really difficult.
But you can't beat somebody and say they should not cry.
But I see a greater future. If we endure, I have taken time to study these things very well, deeply. And what I have seen is that if this phase passes by, the foreign reserves are also improving.
Foreign reserves, yeah.
And with the revenue reforms that are coming, if, for instance, I talked about 55% to states now and 35% to local governments, 10%. That is huge. Federal government has crashed its own percentage in revenue sharing to 15%. So if the states are receiving that high and local governments receiving the next that high, then you should have development
all around,
taking over everywhere. That even the small business, and that's why the law is saying, the new tax law is saying, those who have small businesses need not pay.
Micro business.
They won't be paying. It is the big businesses. But the only fear there is that if you overtax the big businesses, then they will charge their products very high.
And then you don't have ripple effect on
and that's the only challenge there. So that's why we said there should be wider consultations. The federal government should open its doors for ideas. Let Nigerians make input. By the time everybody is on the same page with the federal government, then the Nigerians will be happy.
Yes.
Okay, so congratulations to those who have already received the minimum wage and those who are still waiting. Okay, just as we wind out, we want to look at this aspect in the Tribune newspaper. Nigerian Tribune said tax reform bills. We are still going to touch on that briefly before we round off today. Ted Fund, Naseni, the NTTDA won't be scrapped. Presidency clarifies, assures proposed law won't benefit wealthier states disproportionately, while Senate will pass tax reform bills. Dixon. Okay, so these are some of the issues that Nigerians are afraid of. Agencies like Ted Fund, you see the impact of the truth. Every new institution that comes up today, I was passing by Federal Polytechnic, Wanune, and I just saw a building there, boldly written Ted Fund. And I was saying, wow, Ted Fund is actually working.
Yes.
So
it's one of the great ideas of the previous governments. I think was it Obasanjo?
Yeah.
Obasanjo that initiated Ted Fund. And that's done, that fund has done really good for Nigerian institutions, tertiary institutions.
So some of the outcries here is that Nigerians are expressing fears that institutions such as this would be scrapped out. But here is the presidency assuring that the proposed law won't benefit wealthier states disproportionately and they will not be scrapped. So you were emphasizing consultations.
If any of those agencies is to be scrapped, I will advise that Ted Fund should not be touched. I don't have any links with them, but what that fund has done, Ted Fund has, go to Benue State University and you will see, go to polytechnics, you will see the impact of Ted Fund. You feel it. Every part of if you have, and BSU has been fortunate to have good VCs. You know, many of them came and did wonderfully well. And you see a lot of stamps of Ted Fund in BSU. Many blocks there have been built by with the name there, with the intervention of Ted Fund.
And in addition to that, they have also been improving quality via trainings, research, funding, and a whole lot of that. Well, this is where we draw the curtains on this edition of the program. I'd like to appreciate you so much, the state correspondent, People's Daily newspaper, Uche Noron. Thank you very much for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me always. I always feel happy, feel glad to be here.
All right, thank you very much, Chief TV Akaseg, seasoned journalist, for always making yourself available on the program.
It's my pleasure.
Time. Remember, we're still on our social media handles, YouTube. We're also on Facebook. We're on Twitter, now X, and then we are also on www.agitradiotv.com. Meet us there to read our paper, to watch our news, to listen to us. Thank you very much. I'm Fanin Kwano.